How's everybody? I'm doing a solo episode today. So I often interview other service providers that, serve the interior design industry, but today it's just me. And we're going to be talking about a topic that I think it's a long time coming. It's been really kind of brewing for me. And so today is the first time I'm really talking about this publicly. That's sounding like it's a bigger deal than it is. It's not that big of a deal in terms of it's nothing salacious or crazy controversial. But what it is that I really think the design industry gets some things wrong about marketing. And I think it's keeping you invisible. So just to introduce myself, if you don't know me, I'm Deb Mitchell. I am an expert copywriter, a brand messaging strategist, and a marketing partner for interior designers. I'm pretty much the person that designers come to when they are tired of not being found and not being valued and not being hired by their dream clients. So what qualifies me to talk to you is that before I started my own company, I worked in-house for an interior designer. So I know about getting clients from the inside. And I also wrote design features for magazines. So I certainly know a lot about communicating. I know a lot about the industry. And I know how clients think. So that's kind of a unique perspective on everything. Since starting Deb Mitchell Writing just over 10 years ago, I've supported interior designers to elevate their brand presence and their messaging. It's been a lot about the messaging in the past, but I've been stepping up a lot into including some other things. And this is why. Because I think there's a lot missing that you're not told, you're not taught. It's just a big gap that you're left to kind of wonder about. So I really just think, there's not enough advice out there about marketing for the design industry. And what is out there, I just think it doesn't work for everyone. So today I really want to just kind of pull back the curtain on why so many, really just incredibly talented designers and smart business owners are doing what they think they need to be doing to market their businesses, but they're still flying under the radar and they're still getting lost in the shuffle. So before I really start talking about that, full disclosure, I do have notes open over here. I don't always, refer to notes a whole lot in these conversations. I like them to be very organic, but this is an important topic today. And I just really don't want to miss anything. So that's why I have this today. So for the first thing I want to talk about is, I think there are a few marketing myths. In working with designers over the course of that 10 years, there are things that I see over and over again, that I hear designers say over and over again. And these are some of the myths that I think are coming to the surface and have come to the surface for me of wait a minute, why are we thinking that? Because that is not true. So I wonder if any of these sound familiar for you. One is that a lot of designers think they don't need to market themselves because they get referrals. And I hear a lot now, the last couple of years, I've never had to market myself before. I've always gotten referrals, but now all of a sudden that's dried up and I have to market myself. Okay, that's because referrals, that's not a marketing strategy. It's one piece, but it's not a reliable, ongoing, strategy to be marketing yourself. Another one is a lot of designers think, well, I have a website and I have an Instagram. Isn't that enough? The answer is really, actually, no. It's not enough. It's not too far off, but you need to have something else around that. Some designers think they would be limiting themselves to only serving their, a certain area if they list their location on their website and on their Instagram. So they just don't say anything about where they are. They think, oh, I want to work all over the world. And while I understand that, that is a myth, and that's a bad idea. That is a bad marketing strategy. If you worry, if you're a designer who worries that marketing yourself will be too braggy or too pushy or too salesy, you are in very good company because a very high percentage of my clients and the designers who I know feel that way. I think it tends to be very hard for designers to promote themselves and to, do anything with marketing because they feel like, well, isn't that tooting my own horn? I don't want to do that. And that's a marketing myth. Marketing is not tooting your own horn. And it's not braggy. It doesn't have to be salesy or pushy. Another myth is that marketing your business is like an extra. It's like not core to your business the same way that like bookkeeping or the operations and systems, there's this seems to be this perception that okay, there's these other things that I have to have in place, the client experience, my design process, my bookkeeping, marketing's over here. And that is just not how a business operates. If you are like a real business and a successful business, you consider marketing a non-negotiable core piece, just like everything else. Some designers think that marketing just means paid ads and getting press. So in other words, like being in the magazines, being in the press somewhere, whether you pay for it or whether you get press. And that is not true. And some of y'all think that marketing just doesn't work because you've tried something or several things in the past and it hasn't worked. It hasn't gotten you clients, or it hasn't gotten you the clients that you want. So you just think, well, it doesn't work, so I'm not going to do anything. So those are really common refrains that I hear, and I think they're also really understandable. And by the way, I want to say, in no way with any of this am I trying to shame anyone. I think that, we come from where we come from, and we've learned what we've learned, or we have the missing knowledge that we have. It's totally fine, and there's no shame for that. What I feel compelled to do is to tell the truth about all of this. I do believe that designers have inadvertently been done a disservice by the industry. I just think it's been kind of a blind spot in a way. And even I would say marketing has been talked about in a way, it's almost like it's aspirational. It's almost like marketing is for the people who can afford, professional videography and who can afford to jump in on a designer show house and get all of that good press. Or marketing is for the people who love to write and so they can blog. And if none of those things is you, then you're out, right? And that is just not the case. So I'm wanting to also kind of okay, no, everybody come in. Let's talk about this and let's be real. And let's talk about what marketing actually is and isn't, and bring into it the nuance of the interior design industry. Because as always, if you know me at all, if you've followed me at all, I am always very mindful of and very much talking about the idea that interior design is different. It is. Your clients are different. Your business is different in how you run it. Well, your marketing is different too, but it's not different in the same ways that you think it is. It's not different in the ways that all these myths, convey. So we're going to get to that piece too of what makes it specific to interior design and to your industry. But I also think, one of the main things to keep in mind is, okay, you're not doing this as a hobby. You're running this as a real business. You're You're running it to be profitable and sustainable, and you're doing these things in a smart way, right? And you're taking care of all these things. And I know that describes so many of you because I know you and I'm talking to you. I'm out there, at events and, whatever. I know you online, all the things. And I know the courses you're taking, and I know the coaches you're working with, and I know that you're putting all these pieces in place in your businesses. And marketing is just one that is largely neglected for many reasons. So, I really want to give as much insight as I can into how you can change that. I do think too, along with that no shame piece, if you do nothing, if you've done nothing to market your business, if you have continued to do nothing, partly because you're like, it's just a mystery, again, no shame, and you are in good company. I know a lot of designers who are just like, I've just never done anything because I don't, where do I even begin? I don't even know. And that is okay. We're all kind of starting at square one together to start to make this happen. I'm just starting to talk about this, even though I have been actively dropping it into, even though I've been a copywriter and supposedly stay in that lane, have historically stayed in that lane, I am changing things right now. I'm changing my offers. I'm changing how I work because I see this gap and I see that y'all need more, and I know what you need. Partly because of my experience in your industry and partly because of just my background and my education and experience with marketing. I've always kind of dropped in help to my clients wherever I can, but now it's like, okay, no more making it just like the breadcrumbs to throw it in where I can because it's not really what I do. It's what I do now. I'm helping you market your businesses within my offers too, because you need to not only have great messaging, you need to get found. So I'm going to help you all get found. So when it comes to what you really need in your marketing, if we're going to say, okay, this has been a gap and you haven't been talked to enough about what you need, what do you need? What should you be doing if you want to behave like any other business that's trying to be profitable and sustainable? What should you be doing while being mindful of the nuances of the design industry? So what it comes down to for me is 3 pillars. Messaging being a huge one. It's always been huge with me. I still fully believe in that. But there's kind of like 2 other legs to this stool that we need to put around it. Positioning is one. Positioning is all about where you sit in the market. So even though you can say, oh, my clients are all the people in this area, it's not really all the people, is it? It's all the people in that area who want this kind of aesthetic, who want this kind of a service experience, who have this kind of a timeline. And then I would even always go so far as to say who have this kind of a personality, who want this kind of a relationship, and I'm saying this meaning X, whatever your aesthetic is, whatever your approach is, whatever your process is, whatever the timeline that works in your process is. And whatever personality and relationship works best with you. You need to be positioned to sell to those specific people. Positioning is about not only your messaging, but also your offers. What is and isn't in your offers, your pricing, how you speak about your ideal clients, how you signal to them that you're the person for them and that, you're their perfect ideal designer. It's all about those things. And it's about, how you're different. Because the things that make you different, that those particular people care about, that's like the connector. That's like them going, oh, I want this designer because they're saying that's their thing, or this is the heart and soul of their business, or whatever it is. So that's positioning. If you have a misalignment there and you think you're signaling to these people, but you're really signaling, off and you're attracting all these other people, and you're like, what the heck? Why am I getting these people when I want these people? It could be a positioning problem. Just to fill in on messaging a little bit, in case you don't know what that means, your messaging it includes things like your website copy, your design philosophy, your content like blog posts, like, even how you describe your services. Messaging should be your Instagram posts. It's all the talking points about your brand, all the ways that you signal online with words, who you're for, what you do, and how you do it uniquely. That's messaging. So, I talk about this a lot too, that I also understand that many designers want their images, their photography to speak for itself or speak for themselves. And, I don't want a lot of copy on my website. I just want my images to speak for themselves. I just want people to hire me based on the work that I do. Can't they just see that this is the level of work that I do and then hire me? Well, the answer is no, because people don't buy from pictures unless they're shopping out of a catalog. When they're buying a service that's like a high-touch personal service, they're buying from the person. They're buying that relationship, that service relationship. So you need to give them an experience with language online that shows why they should trust you and gives them something to connect with you as a human service provider. So that is, the importance of messaging. I can never overstate. It is hugely important. And it's also, kind of the vehicle for your positioning, and a way that you fine tune your positioning. If your positioning ever changes and you go, oh, I don't want these kind of clients and projects, I want those kind of clients and projects. Okay, guess what we tweak? We tweak your messaging to, kind of bait the hook differently, if you will. That sounds kind of weird. It sounds gross. Like you're just, I don't know, fishing, whatever. Anyway, you're trying to attract a certain kind of client, with a certain kind of project. So we tweak your messaging to get there. So positioning and messaging, those are two legs of the stool, two of the pillars. And then also visibility. That's the third leg. Visibility includes things like SEO, email campaigns, Instagram, your Google My Business page. It's all the ways that you deliver your message and get your message out in front of your people online. So it's one of the areas, and I think I said this before, that I see the biggest gap in designers' understanding is how the visibility online, how that works. It's partly technical because visibility is partly about how everything kind of connects online. How do you get in front of those people? How do you get your ideal client's eyes on your stuff, on your website, on your Instagram, whatever? And some of that is technical. That's why like SEO and how Google works, understanding how Google connects searchers with results and helps you find a website or whatever. That's part of it. The other part of it is like psychological. It's like how humans behave, what their online behavior is when they're on a buying journey. And don't close your ears and think, oh, I'm not selling online. A lot of designers also say to me, oh no, my website is just my like calling card. I'm not trying to sell with that. Okay, you're wrong. Due respect, that's not correct. If you think you only sell on discovery calls and your web presence is just to sit there and prove that, you're a real business or whatever, you're missing out on business, because for your prospects, their buying process starts online. It starts on the internet. Even if it's a referral, such and so says to use such and so designer, what's the first thing they're going to do? The first thing they're going to do is Google you. The first thing they're going to do is look you up on Instagram. And that's more than just a calling card. They are looking for information. They're looking for an experience. They're looking for that differentiator. If you are not participating in the process, now, let's take referrals out of it. If somebody is searching online for an interior designer, if you're not participating in that process and you just plunk your website out there and expect to be found, you're not going to get found. That's not how the internet works. That's not how that process works for the buyer, for the searcher. You have to actively participate, and you have to have some things set up in a certain way in order for you to get found. So back to the tech thing. So it's so important, but it's not talked about to designers. It's talked about to other business owners, or just like, hey, we hand this off to these people, and then it's handled a certain way that would not be appropriate to handle it for designers. Let's be clear. So it's not like you can just go hire all those companies that other businesses are hiring. I've had that experience too with designer clients, and it has been a royal mess. It needs to be people who understand your industry. But just to say, there are things going on that you don't understand, that you're not an expert in, and you're not supposed to be, because it's very techy. But we've got to get you set up in the right way to help your ideal clients find you. Now, with all of that, one of the biggest reasons why I have decided to change things in my business in order to better help designers with their marketing is that I am constantly running into things being like on fire in my clients' businesses. And I mean, not in a good way. I mean, like, I'm working with them and I see something that is clearly misaligned for their market, or clearly misaligned in their offers. And I'm thinking, this is causing so many problems in their business, and they're like leaking money, and they're losing clients, prospect opportunities left and right. And I'm thinking, how did no one else tell this designer about this? How has this been missed by others? Like, I feel sick to my stomach, because often they're coming to me years into their businesses, and these things have been on fire for a long time, because they've been, going along and taking courses and working with coaches, and they come to me because, okay, I need to rewrite a website. As just a copywriter, they're coming to me at that point. And as I go through all of their stuff with a fine-tooth comb, I'm going through their positioning and their messaging and their offers and their pricing and their, who their ideal clients are and what their goals are and all of these things. I'm going through like really, really carefully. I'm finding these things that I'm like, oh my gosh, this needs to change today. Like, oh no. And I want designers to come to me sooner. So those things aren't just burning holes in their businesses for years without them knowing it. So what am I talking about? What are these fires? What am I talking about here? Let me get a drink. My throat's going dry. I'm going to give you some examples. It really happens. It happens honestly with almost every client I work with. Sometimes the fires are bigger than others, but it really does happen just almost 100% of the time that something is like, oh my gosh, we got to change this now. One example is a designer who I worked with had previously had like a DIY design blog. Like she'd done her own home and like documented the process through a blog. It became popular. She became an influencer, that type of thing. Then she became a designer. She moved everything to her interior design business website, but she moved all that influencer content. So what she had was a mix of signaling to higher end, more luxury clientele. Hey, we want to, full service, do everything from the ground up for you. I have a team of people, blah, blah, blah. But then she has this DIY content. And it was like confusing. What was happening is she wasn't getting either kind of client. I mean, not even DIYers were calling her, right? Because DIYers are just taking the advice and going to Home Depot. So, I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh no. Okay, we gotta do something with this. Her thinking was just that she owed something to her past audience to keep that content up. And she wasn't really making money off of her influencer stuff anymore. That wasn't a concern. I made sure of that. But it was more this feeling of like what got her here, this connection. And she didn't know how to like sever that. She felt bad. But I was telling her like, okay, you're creating a whole other problem here. What we need to do is just talk about your former blog on your about page. Don't keep the advice here. Don't keep all those links off your page here to other blogs and stuff like that. You're confusing your luxury clients. They don't care about that stuff anyway. So that's what we did. We fixed it. Another example is a client had a design consultation offer and full service design. And when I was picking it all apart to write her service descriptions for her services page, I was like looking at, she had these add-on options for her consultation. And it ended up that you could piece together an entire full service approach with all those add-ons for less money. And she didn't realize it. She wasn't thinking of it that way. And she, in fact, had some projects. She had a couple projects going that's what was happening. They had realized, and they had hired her under her consultation and added the add-ons and were getting full service functionality at a consultation price. So, not good, right? That was, sort of cannibalizing her full service offer. So we took the options off. We tightened up the scope around the consultation offer, and she was golden. Another example that I actually see frequently in designers, and they don't realize it, they're signaling to prospects that they might be a budget option, is that their client testimonials are talking about budget. And it's often their earlier in their career client testimonials, but not always. Sometimes it's their current client testimonials. And the client says something, like, oh, so great to work with. She stuck to my budget. Oh, I loved working with her. I had a really tight budget and she honored it. Like, okay. If somebody is looking at you now and they're reading those things in your testimonials, that's going in. Budget. I can have a tight budget. And what they do is they think tight budget, and they see the images. And they think, I can get that magazine image for a tight budget, which is not true. You and I both know that. But they don't know that. They don't know that. They're gathering the information that's on the website. This says tight budget. I see that image. Okay. So, here's the thing. For most designers, there is something that is silently burning down your chances of getting hired by the right clients or burning into your profits. And, if I can get in there and I can see the fires, I know how to fix them. And I'll show you exactly what caused them so that we're not just like patching it up now, we're preventing it from happening again. So that's that bit of it that I feel really strongly about too, is this is really important for y'all to make sure there's nothing in there, kind of burning inside the walls that you're not seeing. So now what to do next? My new offers, and this is I don't mean this to just sell to you. I just mean what I'm wanting is for you all to have eyes on my Instagram and eyes on my website, which we're in the process of reworking, and I'm creating some new free content, and creating some free resources and some paid resources. So I'm going to have a lot of stuff that you can start referring to understand all of this. And I would love if you would, tap your designer friends on the shoulder and say, hey, there's something kind of new coming out here that, if you think it's valuable the way that I think it's valuable, give them a shout and show them like somebody else is talking about marketing in a different way. My main goal is to help you market your design business like real businesses do. But again, to do it in a way that makes sense for interior designers. You need to have like a person in the middle translating what that means for you. And that's what I'm doing. So in terms of the actual offers, content's another thing. Content is all of like the things I'm telling you here, how to look for the things that are on fire in your business type of thing. But in terms of offers, everybody who works with me will go through the pipeline punch list. And what that is a piece at the beginning that lets us get everything out of your head. So we can figure out what's working. And this is all with an eye for messaging, positioning, visibility. Remember that three-legged stool. So getting everything out of your head to figure out what's working and what's not working. And letting me and my team take a look at your online presence and a look at your visibility. So we can figure out exactly what you need to do to get you in front of your ideal client. So I am sort of diagnosing, is your positioning aligned in the right ways? And if so, what about your messaging? What's missing? Is there, a big, impactful, like killer message that is just begging to be shouted from the rooftops, essentially? And I mean, I don't mean actually shouted from the rooftops, but I mean something that's like goosebump worthy that you need to be leading with that just has never dawned on you. And we uncover that together. How do we talk about your offers in a way that really resonates with your ideal clients, with your market that you're positioned for? What are your goals? Is there something about your goals that, is very specific that we need to consider? I had one client who has young kids, and so she only wants to work part-time until her kids get to be school age. So she's looking at it as a ramping up. So we were creating all of her stuff with that ramp in mind. So it wasn't like flinging her into anything. that she wasn't quite ready for yet. The deliverable on that pipeline punch list is a report that's like all of these recommendations that give you sort of like this roadmap to, I mean, it's a punch list, right? You know what a punch list is. It's like, need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this. But it's even more specific than that. It's like, we need to do this, and this is how this would get done. And just as an aside, I am bringing in some other specialists to help. So if there needs to be some kind of expert SEO help, sometimes there does, sometimes it's not that involved. And me and Megan, who is on the live, hi Megan, she's my assistant, Megan and I can handle it. But if it needs more of an expert to unravel things and get it right, we have experts we can bring in. Social media, same thing. Google My Business, same thing. We're getting people to back us up here, to bring in and make sure that we've got the right people to do these jobs so we can accomplish things for you. So that's included in the pipeline punch list too. If we're like, okay, your SEO needs big help because people are not finding you, and we need an expert to get this figured out, and we've got this person to talk to. So there's one session with them for whatever, it's that kind of thing. Then in terms of projects from there to get the things accomplished, the brand build out is my main offer. And we can do that in either a 3-month, a 6-month, or a 12-month, version. There are 3 different versions of it. And obviously, the longer we work together, the more we can get done for you. But it is a full-scale, done-for-you messaging, positioning, visibility, all-in marketing help for less than the cost of you hiring an employee. So if you're thinking about all of your marketing, you're thinking about brand messaging, website copy, blogging, social media, SEO, your Google My Business page, and all that entails. There could be some other visibility tactics, like some networking kind of stuff, like with contractors and that kind of thing, and creating some leave behinds and documentation to help you with that. It could be helping you create video for social media that makes you comfortable to be on screen, comfortable to be on video, talking about your business and handling it that way, and giving you video that you're proud to put up. That's not like hiring a full-blown crew. It's more casual than that, but it's giving you these bite-sized little reels and pieces that get video into your marketing toolkit, and in a way that has you speaking about your business that resonates with your ideal clients. So that's awesome. We have all these things that we've created that are in our toolkit for you to add into the mix where needed, or as needed. Then, and that's for the brand build out. For the next offer is the brand foundation. And that's really tackling just that messaging piece. So that's brand messaging and website copy. So if you're at a place where you either have your visibility in hand and you've got people helping you with that, awesome. What you need is brand messaging and website copy, we got you. So that's what that offer is really for. Or it can even be a lead in, like, hey, not ready for this visibility done for you piece yet. We can step into that. And then we have the brand blueprint, which is just a game plan for designers who are ready for a plan and want that, like, okay, I need to know, even beyond the punch list, I need to know what is on the horizon for me, and to be starting to plan and budget and put in my calendar stuff as I get ready over the next couple of years to move into this. So, if anything in this conversation has really struck a chord for you, if you feel like you're doing everything you can in your marketing and still not getting seen by the right clients, if you are doing nothing in your marketing because you feel frozen and don't know what to do, let this be your sign. You can reach out to me through my contact form on my website. Always, you can do that. You can email us, hello@DebMitchellWriting, or you can DM me right here on Instagram. DM me the word ready, and I'll know exactly what you mean, that you're ready for the next steps, and I'll meet you where you are and help you get ready for where you want to be. So, are there any questions? I know we only have a few people in here today, which is totally fine. We kind of threw this together a little bit last minute. And if there are no questions, that's not a big deal either. Okay. So don't forget to check the link in my bio, by the way, to look at all of my free offers and content that I have up now. But keep in mind that we've got new stuff coming. So what you're going to see is some of the older stuff for the most part. I've got new stuff coming, so stay tuned. That is all in process. And we're ending a little bit early today, but that just means found time for you, I guess. You get 18 minutes back in your day. So thanks for spending time with me today. And if you're ready to stop falling under the radar of your ideal client, stop being invisible, and if you're ready to lead your business like the CEO that you really are, I'm here to help you do exactly that. So thank you so much for being here, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.